Hello, I am Burjahan Shenar from the Migration and Refugees Center. We have come together in this session to talk about very important topics under the organization of INGEV, and also from UNDP. We have Arda with us. We have Mahmoud from Syrian refugees, Syrian Affairs Centers, and we have three very successful Syrian entrepreneurs with us. Welcome, all of you. We all know that when talking about a true social cohesion for all tiers of the society, we need to make sure that the refugees are able to stand on their own feet with the underlying necessary economical and social structures that empower them. And for them to become empowered individuals, also for economical development as well as social stability. We need to ensure this, and also to be able to do this, roles befall all of us. Academia, civil society organizations, governmental organizations, as well as international bodies like the UN. So this is actually the basic theme of MARUF this year, this cooperation between different bodies to be able to ensure such an outcome, especially going to talk about the employment of refugees, but especially on women refugees and employment of women refugees, and enabling them, and looking into how we can support women refugees from standing on their own two feet. But without further ado, I would like to leave the word to Vural. INGEV has a very valuable activities for entrepreneurship of refugees. Please, thank you very much. I do hope it will be less than 15 minutes. My presentation, I would first like to thank the MARUF organization for including this important topic also in their event, and I would like to say hello and greet everyone who will share their stories with us. I will make general comments, but first and foremost, I would like to say that if we would carry out a research in Berlin in 2021, which is being carried out, so one of the top 5 topics would be social harmonization, social cohesion with the Turkish population there in Germany. Even 80 years after their initial introduction into the society, it's still an ongoing matter. In the upcoming years, we believe that this is a topic that will remain among the top 5 topics in the in our cities as well. We know that with our own traditions, with our own capabilities, with our own perspectives, we believe we will be able to solve this with our own approach in a very short manner. But we have to agree on the basic themes. First and foremost, they are here and we are together. So as my colleagues also pointed out, they are the new residents of our city. So the people we are going to be talking to at the moment, right now in this session as well, are people who live in the same city with us, who have made a life for themselves here, who go to work, who have children who go to schools and work in Turkish at school. They watching football games and soccer games in the evening, are fans of different soccer clubs. So they're the new residents of our times, and they're going to continue to remain here. So there might be, of course, some speculations on political levels as well. That's true, but many of them will continue their lives here in our cities, in these cities. So that's why I think that the comment "they are here to stay" is quite self-explanatory. And thirdly, I would like to point out that we need to focus our energies on harmonization, on cohesion, integration and harmony among the social structure you know, why the reasons why they had to come to Turkey as refugees, what the policies were, what the politics behind it were. That does not improve the situation that our cities are in at the moment, and it does not enable them to look into the future with hope, and neither for us. So what we need here is to enable this social harmonization of social cohesion in our cities, especially for the 10 major cities that I can count to you here. We need to have this topic on our agenda. And last but not least, I would like to point out with something which is very important. This is a matter of humanity. It is not a matter of borders or countries. It is an issue that comprises the entire humanity. The issue of refugees is a global matter. What Turkey has undertaken as a burden at the moment is both physically and financially more than it can shoulder at the moment. So we need to have increased support for the load that we have undertaken. That's something I repeat on all platforms, local or international, today. But for now, the main problem that we have in our cities, in the places where we live, is to have the social harmony and social cohesion with these people who are here and here to stay, also making a livelihood accessible to them, making them able to earn their own lives so that they can adapt as much as possible to the business life of the cities, which would in turn mean creating additional business opportunities in the city as well. In the employment needs of the city, the capacity of the city needs to be evaluated and supported. Of course, language learning is important here. The cohesion to the daily life standard experience are very important, but these are also must areas, so to say, for this integration. And this is exactly what we are working on, and as the employment and entrepreneurship of the Syrian refugees. I think the Syrian refugees are, I think, quite active. We have helped more than 400 Syrian refugees establish companies, become entrepreneurs, about 2,500 Syrian refugees being employed, and our call center has provided support on finance, legal issues, and marketing, and similar consultancy and mentorship, as well as professional occupational trainings, and it's trying to mitigate the impact of the crises on the most vulnerable groups. So we have more than 7,000 people benefiting for us. We have a Telegram group with more than 1,500 refugees where we are informing them of the legal developments and any changes in the tax regulations and similar issues. So we're not alone in doing all this. We have partners and our donors and UNDP and UNHCR and UNICEF and International Labour Organization and other international bodies are among our partners to establish all this. Last year, for example, in Istanbul, we had a summit on we concluded a 2-year project to enable disabled Syrian refugees to find employment. So I would like to point out that we have 951 million Syrians in the employment market in Turkey, and we have more than 15,000 companies established by Syrian refugees as well. So we estimate around 140,000 craftsmanship or let's say freelancers, so to say, non-registered workers as well. So from these 951 million, one third is working with Turkish employers. Around 100,000 are working with Syrian employers. So actually, in that sense, I do believe that the entrepreneurial activities of the Syrian refugees are quite significant in enabling other Syrians to find employment as well. And we have 120,000 child workers, it seems, as per the estimations of ILO at the moment. Of course, the average age for Syria's refugees are around 21 now. We have 28,000 young people who are university students and are especially interested in information technologies as well. And one more thing I find important for our session as well, the percentage of women entrepreneurs among the Syrian refugees are slightly above the Turkish average and increasing rapidly also. And I believe this is very important because this is actually the key to social cohesion. Rather than men, women are going to be the key here, as in with many other examples. Of course, we have many actions that we can take to develop these, starting out with the social protection status. And what we need to do is to review the regulations from banking sector to finance. You know, they have problems even in opening bank accounts. So we need to look into and review the possibilities to and standardizations to enable them to enter the labor force, the business world. Of course, we need to have regulations and incentives to reduce and minimize non-registered economy, non-registered workers as well. At the moment, of course, this is important. There are some difficult procedures, especially for refugees, that push them towards this unregistered economy. And also the integration, the cohesion to the Turkish business world as it is, Turkish enterprises as it is, also needs to be encouraged. They are at the moment remaining within their own fields of activity among themselves, and we need to also encourage integration. And INGEV, as an organization, is continuously monitoring the perception in Turkey in that sense. And we notice that there is an important, significant field of tension, which is the misinformation that too many advantages are granted to Syrian refugees. It was so in other areas, but now also in the area of entrepreneurship, this misinformation and misperception is consistent that many advantages are granted to Syrians as well. So this has to be battled, so to say. And in the Marmara region in Istanbul, Bursa, Kocaeli especially, the city has new residents, and of course, we already had many disadvantaged groups in these cities even before they came, but they have now been taken the place of the most disadvantaged group within the city, and the municipalities and local governments need to help them make a little headway and not remain the most disadvantaged group. So what I consider to be important here is to have the right analysis of the employment and career opportunities need to be undertaken, and the right incentives and the right supports for the right occupations to the right people need to be given in that sense, and support and language learning and occupational trainings need to be seem to be areas where it will be most beneficial. So our local governments need to be more inclusive in their services, in their efforts. And one thing we can say for our entire country country is that both central governments and the provincial offices of central governments need to be included in the cooperation and coordination of the activities for these disadvantaged groups. And one more thing I would like to point out is that last weekend, we worked with the UN Development Program and the Ministry of Youth and Sports. We carried out a weekend program with Startup Brand was the name of the title, and youth from all over Turkey as well as Syrian youth looked into how they could develop new business ideas to cope with the crises. They worked together to form new ideas, brainstorming against the disasters, the climate. These are very important topics now, and they form new startup ideas, business ideas as to how to struggle against these. And we are supporting them, of course, with mentorships and grants and other types of supports. But for these 2 days, we had very productive, very effective outcomes of this meeting with the young people. So young people are quite enthusiastic on what to do next. And very briefly, to sum up, I would say that for a city full of peace and full of comfort and full of values, we need to work together with the new inhabitants, but also inclusive of the older former inhabitants. So our inclusive strategic position of the local governments needs to be emphasized as well, and a very structured and clear strategy needs to be developed. And I believe that within such a strategy, this should be taken as a field that is above and beyond politics and above and beyond other issues. So with this final remark, I would like to leave the word back to Burcuhan.
Thank you so much. Right on time. Thank you for being so punctual, and also you are the host in this session. So I would like to thank you for all your efforts in the hosting and organization. And actually, Marmara Municipalities Union as well, you have went into its opinions as well. With the words you have mentioned, with the sentences you have uttered, yes, we really believe that it is over beyond and above the politics as well, and for all actors to be included. And I'm sending my regards to Fuat Hoca from IL as well. He's in another session right now. Now we can move on to Arda Bey. Actually, we could go from right where we started with the Startup Bilkent project you mentioned. And as we know, UNDP is one of the most important actors in this process, not only in the employment of refugees, but also in local development and also in supporting employment and development. You have many valuable projects here. So what's UNDP's approach to these issues? If you could talk about them in 10 minutes, it would be great. Of course. Thank you so much, Burcu Hanım, and I would like to thank INGEV and MARUF. So I'm going to start right where Ural Bey left off. Of course, refugees in the countries they go to, they are seen like cheap workforce, manpower. They are exploited no matter where they go, but entrepreneurship, it is like a serum for that. It's like a solution for that. They are not only supporting themselves by staying on their own 2 feet, but they also contribute to the economy and also the employment of the countries they go to. So as such, this is incredibly valuable for social cohesion, and within this framework we are conducting different activities and projects to give way to entrepreneurialism and also employment. And just like Ural Bey said, even if we could just remove some of the obstacles, that would be a great work well done. And as you know, as soon as we remove some obstacles, humankind just finds great solutions. And one of the most important things is actually being able to find the finances and resources, because as you know, sometimes they have issues regarding documentation and also financial resources, maybe setting up from setting up a bank account to getting permission to start their own business, etc. It is an incredibly important obstacle, and also the legislation and regulations, maybe sometimes they could put obstacles in their way and restrict them. And also another important thing is, in Turkey or any other countries, in the trade world, in the export and import world, and also working in those areas and also understanding the legislations there, it is very important as well. And within our activities, for 54,000 refugees, to 54,000 of them, we have given certificates from our Ministry of Education, and it's a very serious figure, very serious number. But within those people, those who took entrepreneurial actions are very low. The number of those is very low. And secondly, the information about the laws and regulations and bylaws in Turkey was very few in between, because in Turkey, like all those other countries, you can speak the mundane daily language, but you could not actually know about the legislation and the rules and the laws. Even it's given even me a headache sometimes. So we realized this, and we came to the conclusion that in Turkey or other countries, to the Syrian refugees and other refugees, information must be given to them in their own languages. I mean, in Turkey, in the future, why not, let's say, the code of conduct for or the legislations around commerce, let's say, why not it be given to them in their own language? This is what one of the things we talked about, and we are planning this for the future. And also, like Vural Bey said, we do events, and before the before the Bilkent event, we had a hackathon event, and of course, in those we have awards, especially for the youth. And in hackathon, in a group we had established to be able to promote collaboration between between young people. One of the group that won was the group that won had the idea of a mobile application, and it would include gaming and also other social activities, and young people would be involved in this app in a collaborative environment. And of course, the ranking members had awards given to them. So this is one of the areas we are trying to be active. This is how we are trying to fill in the gap. But maybe something better to do, a better support to give would be, maybe by us or other organizations, would be the microcredits. And you know, with very small rates of interest for credits to be paid in 2 to 3 years, maybe altogether, and such credits can be used in projects. I mean, it can be a lot of different things as long as we remove the obstacles along the way. So this is how we are planning our next processes. This is not. This doesn't mean we must give special incentive to Syrians or other refugees. They are already starting a few steps behind the others. But if we can actually level the playing field, if we can actually bring in equal opportunities, I can assure you that in both Turkey and in other countries where refugees are present, success stories will come to fruition. I mean, we already have good examples, right? Or examples of good entrepreneurial endeavors, both in Turkey and in other countries. So they are creating added value as well as the perception and the changing of the false perception, and they are bringing forward the roles of the refugees in those countries. We have such examples, and in Turkey, this success rate is way below the line, way below what could be achieved. But I hope with different actors and also like I have just mentioned, legislation, regulations, and also access to resources and finances, and also equality and equity, and also with the lack of documentation addressed, a lot of obstacles could be removed from their way, and it would be a win-win for both the hosting country and the refugees. We hope we will be doing these in the future. And that's all I had to say. And I hope in this day, as you know, this is, yes, a very small scale project, but if we can actually scale it up, we'd be even more content with ourselves. Thank you so much, Adebe. It was a very important contribution. And just like you have said, we are not talking about giving incentives, special incentives. We are talking about equalizing the opportunities and also leveling the play field. And we are going to be seeing a few examples of how successful examples can be seen in this field.
Now, I would like to leave the word to Mahmoud. I believe you are uniquely qualified to inform us about the condition of the Syrian refugees and entrepreneurs, what kind of obstacles are in the way, how they can be removed, how can you support that. So maybe 10 minutes worth of your remarks as well on this. I would like to thank INGEV very much for this opportunity to address you in this event, in this organization. This is a very sensitive time, and I would like to thank you very much for your efforts to bring us all together in this sensitive time. There is an unbelievably important truth before our eyes. We cannot disregard it. There are more than 5 million refugees in Turkey at the moment, and these refugees are have been coming by and by to our country within the framework of an ongoing crisis in the last decade. So the Turkish society when the war first started, was not that open to accepting refugees from Syria in the beginning, in all the orientation trends, and both in terms of government bodies, both in terms of the NGOs as well as the civil organizations. No one was really actually prepared for it. So all of a sudden there was this wave and a rush of refugees. But in spite of everything, I would like to thank everyone involved. Also, Vural also mentioned for all your efforts in spite of all of that. And I do wish that it had been able to remain at only a humanitarian level. If at this level Turkey had been able to accept the refugees and support them in that sense. But there was such a conflict going on both in daily life and politically. And the extension of this time period of this process of the migration of the refugee caused a lot of conflicts and tension, and NGOs like INGEV and other bodies had to step in because the other official bodies could not take on the necessary responsibility to ease the situation. So the NGOs stepped in, and this burden, this load is still on them. When we look at the process from day one of the crisis until today, the burden is still very heavy because there are still a lot of refugees. There is still a lot of people. More than 5 million refugees have come to Turkey over a decade, and Turkey has accepted them all into its society. But it's not just out of Syria. Refugees are coming from many different countries now, and Turkey, which is faced with such a large number of people, has not been able to be supported in their adoption of these people in in their integration and cohesion with these people. So maybe normally if the Syrians had been able to come by without the political implications, then this crisis would not have reached these levels maybe. Like I said, if it had remained at a humanitarian level, it could have been maybe easier to cope with. But until today, everywhere, wherever we have politics, we have problems. So at the moment, there is a political polarization also caused by these refugees. There, on one side, there is a war, ongoing war. Everything is clear and clear. But on the other hand, unfortunately, these certain political parties are using the matter of the refugees as a political advantage, as a card to play, saying that, you know, if I'm in the government, if I'm elected, I will send the Syrians back. And this has caused actually a tremendous amount of fear among the Syrians in Turkey, especially when we look at the business sectors. You know, we have a businessman coming here or a businesswoman coming here, establishing a company, being entrepreneurial activities with a project, with a company. But now they are anxious for their future. They are anxious whether they will be sent back or whether they will have any stability in both their lives and their daily life as well as business life. And this is causing more and more of a polarization, and it is being reflected on the daily lives of the Syrians in Turkey as well. So at the moment, the Syrians have become pawns to be used for the political gains of different parties in politics. This is a negative situation. It's actually the Syrians who are being hurt because of this. And there is one more truth that needs to be underlined and underscored here, and that is that there are a large number of Syrian business people who have come from the United States to Canada to invest in Turkey, and they have this connection with Turkey because Turkey has welcomed the Syrian refugees. That's why they have come from States and Canada to invest here, to purchase property here, and they have invested to stand by these Syrian refugees. And I know a very rich Palestinian businessman who invested $1 million in a Turkish bank only because of his loyalty and his love for Turkey, because of what Turkey has done. And this is actually originating from the fact that Turkey has had helped Syrians. They're not even getting interest. They are just putting in all their money into Turkish banks as Turkish liras and putting that money into the economy because of their love for Turkey. So there are very many similar business people coming from Syria and the region. But now they are also anxious, saying what will be the future of the Syrians here if another political party comes to power. Will they send the refugees back? Will they stop our businesses? And as Vural and Arda also pointed out, they have a significant amount of efforts and initiatives and projects supported by the NGOs as well. So everything is actually going very well for an integration and cohesion among the people. So I do really hope that such activities continue increasingly and have a broader perspective and a broader comprehension among more and more parties, is to include more and more groups from the Turkish society into this matter, because in all of our prayers we pray for peace, we pray for an end to war, we pray to be able to go back home. But unfortunately, our current situation seems far away to be able to do that. So we have to adapt to our current situation. We have to live with our current situation, and we have to do our best to be able to adapt and to take initiative. So, and when we look at it from the perspective of the Syrian business people in Turkey, we see that they're all a success story on their own, standing on their own 2 feet, working and well and successfully under difficult conditions. conditions, under all this bureaucracy and problems, and even when the president of the Republic of Turkey is complaining from all this bureaucracy, how much more can a refugee do apart from what they've already done? As Vural also pointed out, we have the issue of the language. We have to learn the language. And actually, this is a major factor which is actually at the root of all the other problems that we are experiencing in the society right now. 99% of our problems have to do with the fact that we don't speak the language. So therefore, I do hope that there are more and more such activities to be able to address and solve such issues. I know very well that the Syrians are a very successful and efficient people. They don't complain about work, and we are keen on fairness, and we have to be fair as well, and we have to be realistic on that. And I know that there are some regulations, but some of this is actually a little bit more the bureaucracy, the non-essential bureaucracy that comes into effect, voluntary or arbitrary bureaucracy that's also there. So I know that there are a lot of Syrians who want to earn their own livelihood and want to be here, a part of the society and integrate into the society. So maybe if there weren't these arbitrary bureaucracies, we would have an efficient, a successful story. And some of the, a part of the society are also quite strict in their approach to Syrian refugees. So the Syrian refugees are actually faced with the fear of what will happen to them in 2023 after the elections as well. Thank you very much. I hope you will be able to wrap up in a few minutes. Yes, of course. There have been many efforts. Like I said, until now, INGEV had carried out many projects, but we also still have a lot of responsibility that befalls us. And we still have a lot to do. We have to remove all this negative energy. We have to enable this integration. We all have our role to play, and we need to remove these obstacles on the way. And we need to have a more positive and reparative atmosphere, and we need to stay away from these provocative statements and comments, and we need to explain how dangerous these provocative comments can be, and we need to prevent the view that the Syrians are actually a threat, which is actually the discourse of the politicians, some of the politicians at the moment. If the political parties would stray away from these discourse that the Syrians are a threat, we believe we will have much better results. Thank you very much for your explanations.
Now, maybe the most important part of this session. The thing we never want is actually just speaking about people like refugees and other people where they are not present. We did not want to do that today. And we have 3 really successful women entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and we would like to ask them how they create their own success stories. So without further ado, Simanem, how did you actually manage through the situation in Turkey? Maybe with your success story could not maybe inspire only women in Turkey, but all around the world. So in 6 minutes, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm so honored to participate in this very important event. And I'm happy to share my story that started suddenly when I woke up and found myself here in this country as a refugee. I'm an architect. I have a master's degree in architectural design. In Syria, I had my private office. I worked in architecture. I'm sorry. I used to teach in the university for more than 10 years. I need to mute. the translation. I'm sorry. Yeah, I teach in the university in Syria for more than 10 years, architectural design. Then I came along with my husband to Istanbul in March 2015, after the crisis of the Syrian war, as you know. We decided to stay in the main field that we worked in Syria, in architecture, but we didn't know anything about the market in Istanbul or in Turkey, how it was on. So we started to discover the market, go to the furniture galleries, attend the fairs, and make communication with the important people who work in this field, and started to offer our services to the Arab customers or Arab investors who come to establish their companies in Turkey. So we offered our furniture layout and architectural designs to their offices and houses, and their companies too. I will be happy to share some photos of our work. We learned a lot about the market in Turkey through the first few customers, and after a few months of working, we decided to establish our company More Design in October 2015, which we are going to celebrate our 6th anniversary in a few weeks. We have had multiple successes, but there were also tough times. 2 years later, after establishing the company, we met INGEV and Building Markets, and we benefited a lot of their support through the they offered for the Syrian entrepreneurs, learning about the laws in Turkey, how it goes on, how to benefit from everything the government offers to the companies. And especially in the year 2020, all of us have affected badly from the coronavirus pandemic, and which started to affect our work at the beginning, but later this effect turned into a new opportunity after when everyone turned to use houses our houses turned into offices and schools and universities. So the need to multi-purpose spaces showed on, and we gave the service to all our customers, and we designed the smart spaces and smart furniture, which can change its we can change it according to what we need. So our work expanded and took another new direction, and we are planning now to expand it more into e-commerce and electronic trading. And also we are aiming to have our own furniture gallery in Moscow, maybe, and to go more to export outside Turkey. In Moscow, not in Moscow. These are the photos of our recent works. And here are some of our smart designs. This is an apartment that can change into, it's a 1+1 space, but it can be changed into 2+1 space that has a place for 4 people to sleep, a dining room, an office, and a big space. Here, this is a smart kitchen in a terrace, which looks like a cupboard, and it's a whole kitchen inside it. This is a foldable smart office, which shows like a small vitrine, but it's a desk. You can open it and it becomes a whole office. This is also a small space for 1 person, but according to the needs of the owner, it can have 4 persons in one place. This is our workshop. You can see this workshop also expanded. We started with only 1 table saw, and now we have more machines. And here also we do the painting. works.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you very much for hearing, and I'm so happy and thankful for being here.
Thank you so much. These were all great designs, and I followed them all very closely because I was curious. And now we are moving on to Razan Hanım, who is the owner of Salt and Sugar, who is the founder of Salt and Sugar. Razan Hanım, so can you talk about your own entrepreneurial activities? What were the obstacles along the way, and how you overcame them and inspired people around you? So if you could summarize them in 6 minutes. I would like to thank you very much for extending me this chance to be here. I am very happy to be among you today, and I would like to especially thank INGEV, who has been always supporting us for the last 3 years. Salt and Sugar was founded in 2018, but in 2017 I had already started to work around Salt and Sugar. I was working in a foundation, a women's supporting foundation, for those women who had a job but couldn't actually cook, and also for those female refugees who were working for employment. And I personally started my search, and from a female friend of mine, I asked them to ready vegetables because I couldn't do it myself, and then I sent information to other female friends, and these female friends of mine could actually come up with vegetables and serve them, and I could aid them financially. We could aid them financially, and the small story starting around this topic evolved into a business opportunity bit by bit, because this female friend of mine started supporting other female friends, and this created a network with more than a few participants. And I informed my friends and neighbors about this, and through this collaborative environment, communicative environment, things started to escalate in a good direction. And in 2018 and 2019, as you know, such things, maybe small eggplants or small pumpkins, you couldn't find them in Turkey. They were used in Syria, but you couldn't find them in Turkey, and they need a lot of effort to actually maybe even carve them or use them in meals. And I had the opportunity to work with a few or meet with a few associations, and we met INGEV along the way. There were a lot of different obstacles for which INGEV supported us to overcome them. There were a lot of legal obstacles, there was bureaucracy, there was a language barrier, and INGEV supported us to great extent in these matters. And they supported us electronically, they supported us in terms of the market. And again, to become coordinated, they supported us in that manner as well. And now we are distributing to restaurants and also supermarkets. And we have come up with a branch of our own in which we can host our very own visitors and guests. And we have Turkish customers and clients there. They are very content and happy with what we come up with. Yes, we had many different obstacles, but we overcame them, I think, very successfully. And by the way, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, our problems took to a whole new level. I mean, for a few months, we couldn't do anything. And especially during the pandemic, since we didn't know how to handle these situations, in the first few months, we had some challenges, but then things started to go in the correct way. And as a country, I think we are doing greatly right now, at least in our own industry. And thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a great experience and a very interesting entrepreneurial activity, I think, which should be inspiring for all of us. Now we will be moving on with Cihan Hanım, who is the owner of Barbie Boutique. Cihan Hanım may be having some connection issues right now. Okay, let's wait for her. And in the meantime, I wanted to get to it after the presentation of Cihan Hanım, but maybe there can be some questions among yourselves that you can address to each other. I mean, there is this thing coming to my mind already, which is, by the way, Sima Hanım and Razan Hanım, I'd like to address this to you first and foremost. You're already coming from another country. You are becoming entrepreneurs as refugees, as female refugees. And we have just talked about equal opportunities, equal conditions, and looking at things from this perspective, you are not behind only one step, maybe 2 or 3 steps. So starting this journey, which pushed you into starting this journey? How did you come to decide on such a journey? And our MARUF's motto is solution seeking and solution creating cities. So in that perspective, do you have some messages or words that could inspire all those who seek out solutions? So Siman, if we could start with you.
Being a woman in the field of architecture and construction field, this is a challenge by itself. So a woman and in a foreign country and a refugee, so this is a triple challenge. Actually, my advice to anyone is don't throw out your experience. I had a chance that my husband, he was my partner and we were working in the same field. I benefited from that, the first point, and also we insisted from the beginning not to throw behind our backs all our experience. I had 15 years of experience, he had 20 years of experience in this field, so we insisted, although it was tough, it was very challenging. We knew nothing about the market, but we learned and we put our effort, and now we are still in our line. So yeah, my advice for everyone, keep focusing on what you are good at. Don't make the challenges change your mind or change what you have inside you.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to cut in. There are some very important descriptions that were made today. I mean, you know all the talk about the Turkish economy and the roles and also the polarizations between political parties, but no matter the outcomes, we cannot fight reality. We cannot find the local reality. Everyone must get in line with it. And I share this a lot with our entrepreneur friends here, but this is the direction. This will not change. There is no societal process which will undertake the effort of changing things. And the second note I would like to make is, in the last 3 to 4 years, we did a lot of legal and also commercial consultancy, and in the entrepreneurial activity center and on the website on a lot of different topics like establishing a company and also sustaining a company, etc. You can find a lot of material in Arabic. And there are a lot of different things like tax exemptions, etc. And as soon as these developments come up, we are sharing it with our friends through Telegram. And if there is anything, any incentive or development they can utilize, we are sharing it with them.
So, Razan, I think we had connection problems, but I think you heard my question. I can ask for the answer. You're off, muted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear the question. Of course, you talked about your own success stories. I had actually received an answer from Sima, but I wanted to ask you as well. When you was starting out with this enterprise, with this initiatives, what inspired you? What was your point of inspiration for you? Maybe it might be a story for other women, Turkish or Syrian, to also kick off in their own journey. So, what could be a role model for them? What would be your recommendation? Actually, as I just pointed out, it was purely coincidental how I started out. I just wanted to create some income for women, not even additional income. I did not have the idea to have my own enterprise and to earn money myself. I wanted to create a way of income for these women. So I did not want them to wait in queues before the doors of the association. So I was very humanitarian in my first approach, and I worked with my entire heart. I put my heart into this because all of those products were their own work and effort. I brought them the raw material, the produce, and they prepared the meals. I did not have anything for myself financially. I was just bringing them the material, the produce, and they were preparing it and they were selling it, especially, so to say, in 2017 and 2018, there was this, again, excess wave of refugees, and a majority of that wave were women. So I wanted to support them in that. And at that period as well. And also one more thing I would like to say is that some of these products, the produce, especially the mini zucchinis and other produce, are specific to Syria and very common in the Syrian cuisine. So they are very much used at the moment. So I believe this project was also a source of income for even Syrian men in terms of all these relations as well. So what I want to emphasize is that our primary objective was to just show that we are not a burden on the government. We are producing our own we're carrying out our own jobs. We are earning our own livelihood. We are contributing to society. We are not in a needy position anymore. We can take care of ourselves. We can earn our own living. And as a women force, we are self-sufficient. That's what we wanted to show, and that's what needs to be done. Thank you very much. Mahmoud, I see that you are raising your hands, and there was one question I got from the chat which I wanted to relay as well. And to Razan and Sima, both of you, the question is for the entrepreneurs. In your country of origin, did you have a similar company, or is it your own occupation that you've continued in Turkey, or has it emerged as a new line of occupation for you? That's the question, and then I would leave the floor to Mahmoud, please. Ladies. Reza, maybe we can start with you. Well, actually, in Syria, I was working, but I was working on my free time. I was a teacher, an English teacher for kids and young people at school. But I did that only in my own free time. Here, when I had additional responsibilities, I had to step into a true working life, so to say, because then you have the responsibility of these people, these personnel, these people that you have under your wings earning that money of livelihood, then things change. Thank you very much. What about you, Simna? What would you like to say something to this?
Bu mesleği geldiğiniz ülkede
Did you do the same thing, the same work, the same job in the country where you came from, also before you came here, or was this a brand new line of work for you?
I was working in the same field, and I insisted to stay in the same field. I know it's not easy for anyone to stay in the same field, but back in Syria, I was teaching in university, and I taught here in the Osmanlı Üniversitesi for 1.5 semester. I had my architectural office, and now I am owning a company that works in architecture and interior design, and more detailed in furniture. It's not the same, but it has more details. It's something new, a new experience. I put my experience and added to it what it needs here. So I feel that maybe it was not that bad thing happened to me after all. New chances, new doors opened to me. We have to keep on going.
Çok teşekkürler yanıtınız için. Aslında biraz iki farklı örneği de görmüş olduk.
Thank you very much, Sind. We have seem to have two very different examples here. One of you changed your course entirely, and the other just advanced on what you already had. So I'll leave the floor again to Mahmoud. Yes. The session is about to end, so I'm going to be very brief. I would like to focus again on what Vural said. As you also pointed out, we have more than 500,000 Syrian children born in Turkey at the moment, and this is, I believe, the greatest motivation towards a necessity for integration, and the integration of the Syrians in Turkey to society was actually quite seamless in that sense, quite easy, because the integration of Syrians to Turkey was much more comfortable than the integration of the Turkish people to Germany, because we have this common religious background and we have a common lifestyle. And I would like to congratulate our two women entrepreneurs also in this field for their support also to the community, the Syrian community. And these are beautiful stories. Believe me, I know that most of the Syrians in Turkey, or those maybe located outside of Turkey, would mostly say to you that they are not, they don't want to be a society of consumption, but a society of production, a producing society. They say they would not want to be a burden to the communities in which they live. They would want to contribute to the communities in which they would live. However, I would like to point out one more thing, that for example, the Syrians in Egypt had very successful enterprises and entrepreneurships. And I do believe language is a very important factor here. The fact that the Syrians and the Egyptians had a common language in Arabic was a common factor in their rate of success of the enterprises in Egypt. I do believe that the Syrians left a very significant mark in the Egyptian market. And I do hope that these issues will also be overcome in the Turkish market and community as well, that these bureaucratic obstacles will also be overcome, and more opportunities will be given to Syrians for their entrepreneurial activities. And the Turkish people are known to rule with their conscience, not just with justice. So I do believe this will. This is what enables them to stand by the needy and the fallen ones. So I do believe this is the fact that will help us integrate, to carry on with this integration. So once more, I would like to thank INGEV for supporting us, and also the Marmara Municipalities Union for their support and this organization. Thank you for your attention. We would like to thank you for your efforts as well. We have a lot of questions, but we have time, I think, only for one to the entrepreneurs, especially the refugee students in universities. Do you have any recommendations for their career plannings? What would you recommend to the refugee students in the university? This is to the two women entrepreneurs. Maybe I could have two very brief answers from you because of the time restrictions. Sima, please. Sima, maybe we could start with you. A recommendation for the university students?
Yes, because I work in education and in teaching, I have my students, and I always keep telling them, look what the market needs and follow your passion. If you do something you love, you will succeed. And if you fill the gaps in the market, you will also succeed. So you'll have double success if you can find something that has a need in the market and you are happy to do it.
Çok teşekkürler bu yanıt için. Razan
Thank you very much for this answer. And Rezan, as a previous English teacher, what would you say to your such students? Well, frankly, I would tell them to follow their dreams, to do what they love, to study what they love, because that would be the most important part of proving themselves for them, because you are in a foreign land, in a home away from home, and you have to really prove yourself to the society, and you have to show the people that you are not refugees, that you are people striving for success wherever you are, with your power, with your work, and with your efforts. And that's what you need to do, I would tell them. I believe that's very important. Thank you very much for your answers. So this marks the end of our session for today. I would like to thank everyone. Can I contribute very briefly? There is a research study carried out in the Arab countries. Palestinians are known to be the group among Arabs with the highest education level, and sociologists and psychologists explain this phenomenon in the following manner. Being a refugee is brings with it the effort to hold on to education and to fight for education and to hang on to education for their life improvements. And I believe that is why the Syrians in Turkey are similarly hanging on to education and are motivated towards education in Turkey as well. And that's why they have more and more students from among the Syrian refugees in Turkey. Maybe that would not have been the case in Syria originally, normally. So that was just a short intervention for you. Thank you very much for your comments as well. I would like to thank you very much, Sima and Rezan, for your contributions as well. And I would like to congratulate you on your extraordinary success and being a role model for other refugees as well. And this brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for your attention.